I remember the day she told me she was getting married. Her voice trembled a little, like she wasn't entirely sure if happiness was what she was feeling, or something else, maybe fear. I smiled at her, pretending to be happy too. Pretending came naturally to me by then. I'd been pretending for years. Her name was Hannah. We met in college. She sat 2 rows in front of me in literature class, always with that old notebook covered in little doodles, flowers, hearts, random words in cursive she probably never meant anyone to read. I used to watch her from afar, not because she was the most beautiful girl in the room, though she was, but because she had this quiet presence that filled every empty space. Back then, I told myself I just admired her. That's how it always starts, right? You lie to yourself before the truth gets too loud to ignore. I never confessed. I told myself it was enough to be near her. To share laughter during group projects, to walk her to the bus stop, to listen to her talk about her dreams, about the future she wanted, the places she'd visit, the kind of love she believed in. And all the while, I was there, holding my words like broken glass in my mouth. Then one day, she told me she had started dating someone. Miho. A business student, older, confident. The kind of guy who didn't hesitate before speaking. The kind of guy who looked like he belonged in her story. I remember smiling again. Saying all the right things. He seems like a good guy, I told her. You deserve to be happy. But when I got home that night, I stared at my phone for hours, scrolling through our messages, rereading old conversations that now felt like artifacts of something sacred that only I still believed in. Months passed. We graduated. I got a job. She did too. Our lives drifted apart the way leaves do when the wind changes direction, slowly, almost beautifully, but inevitably. Still, we kept in touch. Texts, occasional calls, birthday wishes. I told myself that was enough. Then, one winter afternoon, she asked to meet for coffee. It had been months since we'd last seen each other in person. I remember how my heart raced the moment I saw her walk into the cafe, her hair a little longer, her smile still the same. We talked for hours. About work, life, nostalgia. I thought maybe, just maybe, the distance had changed something. That maybe the universe had finally shifted a little in my favor. And then she said it. I'm getting married. I don't remember much of what happened right after. My body was there, but my mind, my heart, it froze. I smiled, congratulated her, even made a stupid joke about how she'd finally found someone who could handle her stubbornness. She laughed. God, that laugh. It cut deeper than silence ever could. When I got home that night, I sat in the dark. I thought about all the times I almost told her. All the moments I could have said something, anything, but didn't. I realized I wasn't afraid of rejection. I was afraid of ruining what we had, afraid of losing her completely. And in the end, I lost her anyway. The wedding invitation came 2 weeks later. Cream-colored, elegant, simple, just like her. I told myself I wouldn't go. That watching her say, I do, would be too much. But when the day came, I found myself standing there, hidden behind rows of smiling strangers, watching her walk down the aisle. She was radiant. And for the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to love someone selflessly, to love them enough to want their happiness, even if it wasn't with you. After the ceremony, she spotted me. She came over, hugged me tightly, and whispered, "Thank you for being here." I nodded, holding my breath so I wouldn't break apart right there in front of her. That night, I walked home in the rain. I didn't run for cover. I just let it soak through me. Maybe I wanted the rain to wash away everything, the memories, the what-ifs, the ache that refused to fade. Weeks turned into months. She moved away with her husband. I went back to work, went out with friends, pretended to move on. People around me said I seemed quieter. They didn't know silence had become the only language my heart could still speak. Sometimes, when my phone lights up late at night, I still half expect to see her name. It never is. But I keep hoping, not that she'll come back, but that somewhere out there, she's happy. Because maybe that's what real love is. Not possession. Not confession. Just the quiet act of letting someone go and still wishing them well, even as your heart breaks a little more each day. One evening, months later, I got a message. It was her. "Hey, I saw something today that reminded me of you." My hands trembled as I typed back. What was it? She sent a photo. It was an old cafe we used to go to after class. The same one where I first realized I loved her. "I was just passing by," she said. "They still make your favorite cheesecake." I smiled. I typed, "That's nice." I wanted to say more, to ask how she was, to tell her I missed her, but I stopped myself. Because sometimes silence says everything words can't. After that, our messages became rare again. Maybe she felt it too, that invisible boundary we both knew we couldn't cross anymore. Still, she lingered in my thoughts. Not as she was on her wedding day, but as the girl in that classroom years ago, doodling flowers on her notebook, laughing without knowing she'd one day be the reason for someone else's quiet heartbreak. People say time heals. Maybe it does. But no one tells you that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It just means learning to live with the echo of what could have been. Every year on her birthday, I still type a message. Sometimes I send it. Sometimes I delete it before hitting send. It doesn't matter either way. The words are mine to keep, like memories that never learned how to fade. One night, I dreamed about her. We were sitting in that cafe again, coffee cups between us, laughter floating in the air like it used to. She looked at me and said, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" I didn't answer. I just looked at her and smiled. Because even in dreams, I couldn't bring myself to ruin the perfection of that moment. When I woke up, the sun was rising. I sat by the window, watching the city come alive. Somewhere out there, she was probably doing the same, maybe with him by her side. And for the first time in a long time, I whispered softly to myself. "It's okay. You did the right thing." But deep down, I knew, the heart never truly lets go. It just learns how to live with the silence. It's strange how life goes on, even when your heart doesn't. Days become weeks, weeks become years, and somewhere along the way, the sharp edges of pain become dull. But dull doesn't mean gone. It just means you've learned how to live without picking at the wound. I still think about Hannah sometimes, not constantly, not obsessively, but in those quiet in-between moments. When I'm driving home at night and a familiar song plays on the radio. When I pass a couple holding hands and hear their laughter blend into the noise of the city. Or when I smell jasmine in the air, her favorite scent. That's the thing about love that never had a chance to bloom. It doesn't die. It just settles somewhere deep inside you, quiet and steady, like a heartbeat you've learned to ignore but can still feel if you listen closely. A year after her wedding, I changed apartments. New neighborhood, new routines. I thought maybe a change of scenery would help. It didn't. You can't move away from something that lives inside you. One evening, while unpacking boxes, I found an old photo, the two of us standing by the river during our last semester of college. She was laughing, squinting at the sun, her hair blowing across her face. I was looking at her instead of the camera. It hit me then, maybe I'd spent most of my life looking at her instead of looking ahead. I placed the photo back into the box and sealed it shut. Some memories deserve to stay untouched. A few months later, I ran into her again. It was completely by chance. I was leaving a bookstore downtown when I heard someone call my name. I turned, and there she was, Hannah. Her hair was shorter now, and she looked different, somehow softer. There was a tiredness behind her smile that I hadn't seen before. We went for coffee, like old times. The conversation was easy, familiar, but there was something unspoken between us, a quiet tension that lingered in the pauses. At one point, she said, "You haven't changed much." I laughed. "That's not a compliment, is it?" She smiled faintly. "No, I mean, you still have that calm way about you. Like you're always watching the world from a distance." I didn't know what to say. Maybe she had no idea how right she was. Watching from a distance, that's what I'd always done with her. Then her phone rang. I saw the name on the screen, Miho. Her husband. She excused herself and stepped outside to take the call. I watched her through the glass, her hand gesturing as she spoke, her expression shifting between worry and restraint. When she came back, her smile was back too, but it didn't reach her eyes. Later that night, when we said goodbye, she hugged me tightly, longer than before. "I missed you," she whispered. And then she was gone. I stood there for a long time, watching her walk away, feeling that familiar ache rise again, like a tide I couldn't hold back. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I replayed that hug over and over. I wondered if she was happy. But I didn't reach out. I'd learned by then that sometimes love means staying silent, even when silence hurts. Months passed. Then one rainy afternoon, I got another message from her. Just one sentence. "Can we talk?" I hesitated before replying, but something in my chest, that quiet, foolish hope, wouldn't let me ignore her. We met at the same cafe as before. She looked pale, her hands trembling as she held her cup. "I don't know who else to talk to," she said, her voice breaking. "Miho and I, we're having problems." I stayed quiet, listening as she talked. About the distance that had grown between them. About how she felt unseen, unheard. She cried, and I just sat there, wishing I could take her pain away, knowing I couldn't. When she finally stopped, she looked at me and said, "You always made me feel safe." I wanted to tell her I still would. That I'd always be there. But I bit my tongue. Because this wasn't about me. Over the following weeks, we talked often, messages, late-night calls, quiet confessions. It felt like old times again, only heavier. She laughed again sometimes, and it broke me in the most beautiful way. Then one night, she said, "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." I told her, "You don't have to figure it out tonight. Just breathe." There was a silence on the line. Then she whispered, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if things were different?" I froze. My throat tightened. "Every day," I said. We didn't say anything else after that. Just listened to each other breathe until the line went quiet. The next morning, she texted me. "Thank you for last night. I really needed someone." I stared at the message for a long time before replying, "I'll always be here." But life has a cruel way of reminding you that always doesn't exist. A few weeks later, she told me she and Miho were moving abroad. "He got a job offer," she said. "It's a fresh start." I forced a smile she couldn't see through the phone. "That's great, Hannah. You deserve that." She hesitated, then said softly, "I'll miss you." I wanted to tell her not to go. That maybe this was our second chance. But the words died in my throat, like they always did. The day she left, she sent one last message, "Thank you for being my constant." And that was it. For months after, the silence felt heavier than ever. I threw myself into work, into distractions, into anything that made me forget. But every time I saw a couple laughing on the street or smelled jasmine, I thought of her. Sometimes I'd dream about a parallel life, one where I told her how I felt, one where maybe she had chosen me. But every time I woke up, the same truth waited: some stories aren't meant to be rewritten. Years passed. My hair got a little grayer, my smile a little smaller. I started writing again, journals mostly, filled with fragments of thoughts I never said out loud. And somehow, through those words, I found a kind of peace. Love, I realized, doesn't have to be returned to be real. It doesn't need an ending to have meaning. Sometimes, just having felt it, even silently, is enough. Last winter, I received a postcard. It was from abroad. There was no name, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. It said, "I hope you're doing well. The stars here look different, but I still think of the nights we watched them in college. Thank you, for everything." I smiled. Folded the card. Placed it between the pages of my old literature notebook. That night, I walked outside and looked up at the sky. The stars were faint behind the city lights, but they were still there, distant, constant, unreachable. Just like her. And for the first time, I didn't feel sad. I felt grateful. Grateful for the moments, for the silence, for the love that never needed to be spoken to be real. Because maybe love isn't about happy endings. Maybe it's about the quiet bravery of feeling deeply, even when no one else knows. Maybe it's about standing in the rain, smiling through the ache, and saying, without words, "I loved you," and that was enough. And maybe, that's all it ever needed to be. Years later, people sometimes ask if I've ever been in love. I just smile and say, once. They always want to know what happened, but I never tell them. Because some stories don't belong to the world, they belong to the silence that shaped them. Hannah will never know the depth of what I felt. And maybe that's okay. Because love isn't about being remembered. It's about having lived it, truly, deeply, even if only in your heart. And that's where she'll stay. Always.